Yes, welcome back. I was to fall asleep. I did fall asleep, I think. Of course, I'm laying in my bed a little, so let's read from the top again. I like to read more about computers. This is why this video calling looking at PC gamer hardware. I was reading about computer processors, Intel. Like to read this PlayStation 5, but let's read this again. And I had to try stay awake.
PlayStation. This is a good article. Click here for more information. Page semi-protected. PlayStation productive video game console, home, handheld and micro-console. Production company, PlayStation Productions, films and TV series. Owner Sony Interactive Entertainment Country Minami Aoyama, Minato Tokyo, Japan introduced December 3, 1994 Markets Worldwide Website u.playstation.com PlayStation Buttons PlayStation, Japanese, Hepburn, Pure Isatshon, officially abbreviated as PS, is a video gaming brand that consists of 5 home video game consoles, 2 handhelds, a media center, and a smartphone, as well as an online service and multiple magazines. The brand is produced by Sony Interactive Entertainment, a division of Sony. The first PlayStation console was released in Japan in December 1994, and worldwide the following year. 1. The original console in the series was the first console of any type to ship over 100 million units, doing so in under a decade. 2. Its successor, the PlayStation 2, was released in 2000. It is the best-selling home console to date, having reached over 155 million units sold by the end of 2012. 3. Sony's next console. The PlayStation 3 was released in 2006, selling over 87.4 million units by March 2017. 4. Sony's next console, the PlayStation 4, was released in 2013, selling a million units within a day, becoming the fastest-selling console in history. 5. The latest console in the series, the PlayStation 5, was released in 2026, and sold 10 million units in its first 249 days, unseating its predecessor as the fastest-selling PlayStation console to date. 7. The main series of controllers utilized by the PlayStation series is the DualShock, a line of vibration feedback gamepads that sold 28 million units by June 2008. 8. The first handheld console in the series, the PlayStation Portable, PSP, sold a total of 80 million units worldwide by November 2013. 9. Its successor, the PlayStation Vita, PS Vita, which launched in Japan in December 2011 and in most other major territories in February 2012, sold over 4 million units by January 2013. 10. PlayStation TV is a microconsole and a non-portable variant of the PlayStation Vita handheld game console. 11. Other hardware released as part of the PlayStation series includes the PSX, a digital video recorder which was integrated with the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, though it was short-lived due to its high price and was never released outside Japan, as well as a Bravia television set which has an integrated PlayStation 2. The PlayStation Network is an online service with about 110 million registered users, 12, as of June 2013, and over 103 million active users monthly. 13, as of December 2019, it comprises an online virtual market, the PlayStation Store, which allows the purchase and download of games and various forms of multimedia, a subscription-based online service known as PlayStation Plus, and a social gaming networking service called PlayStation Home, which had over 41 million users worldwide at the time of its closure in March 2015. 14. PlayStation Mobile, formerly PlayStation Suite, is a software framework that provides PlayStation content on mobile devices. Version 1.xx supports both PlayStation Vita, PlayStation TV and certain devices that run the Android operating system, whereas version 2.00 released in 2014 only targeted PlayStation Vita and PlayStation TV. 15. Content set to be released under the framework consist of only original PlayStation games currently. 16. 7th generation PlayStation products also use the Xros Media Bar, which is an Technology and Engineering Emmy award-winning graphical user interface. 17. A touchscreen-based user interface called Liveria was launched for the PlayStation Vita, which integrates social networking elements into the interface. Additionally, the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 consoles also featured support for Linux-based operating systems, Linux for PlayStation 2 and Atheros respectively, though this has since been discontinued. The series has also been known for its numerous marketing campaigns, the latest of which being The Greatness Awaits and eventually Play Has No Limits commercials in the United States. The series also has a strong lineup of first-party games due to PlayStation Studios, a group of many studios owned by Sony Interactive Entertainment that exclusively developed them for PlayStation consoles. In addition, the series features various budget re-releases of games by Sony with different names for each region. These include the greatest hits, Platinum, Essentials, and the best selection of games. History. Origins. Original PlayStation logo, 1994. PlayStation was the brainchild of Ken Kutaragi, a Sony executive who managed one of the company's hardware engineering divisions and was later dubbed the father of the PlayStation. 18. 19. Until 1991, Sony had little direct involvement with the video game industry. The company supplied components for other consoles such as the sound chip for the Super Famicom from Nintendo, and operated a video game studio, Sony Imagesoft. 20, as part of a joint project between Nintendo and Sony that began as early as 1988. The two companies worked to create a CD-ROM version of Super Famicom. 21. Though Nintendo denied the existence of the Sony deal as late as March 1991. 22. At the Consumer Electronics Show in June 1991, Sony revealed a Super Famicom with a built-in CD-ROM drive that incorporated Green Book technology or CDI, called PlayStation, also known as SNES CD. However, a day after the announcement at CES, Nintendo announced that it would be breaking its partnership with Sony, opting to go with Philips instead but using the same technology. 23. The deal was broken by Nintendo after they were unable to come to an agreement on how revenue would be split between the two companies. 23. The breaking of the partnership infuriated Sony president Norio Oga, who responded by appointing Kutaragi with the responsibility of developing the PlayStation project to rival Nintendo. 23. At that time, negotiations were still ongoing between Nintendo and Sony, with Nintendo offering Sony a non-gaming role regarding their new partnership with Philips. This proposal was swiftly rejected by Kutaragi, who was facing increasing criticism over his work with regard to entering the video game industry from within Sony. Negotiations officially ended in May 1992, and in order to decide the fate of the PlayStation project, a meeting was held in June 1992, consisting of Sony president Oga, PlayStation head Kutaragi and several senior members of Sony's board. At the meeting, Kutaragi unveiled a proprietary CD-ROM-based system he had been working on, which involved playing video games with 3D graphics to the board. Eventually, Sony President Oga decided to retain the project after being reminded by Kutaragi of the humiliation he suffered from Nintendo. Nevertheless, due to strong opposition from a majority present at the meeting as the sole remaining prototype of Sony's original PlayStation, a Super NES with a built-in CD-ROM drive, as widespread internal opposition to the project by the older generation of Sony executives. Kutaragi and his team had to be shifted from Sony's headquarters to Sony Music, a completely separate financial entity owned by Sony, so as to retain the project and maintain relationships with Philips for the MMCD development project, which helped lead to the creation of the DVD. 23, according to SCE's producer Ryoji Akigawa and chairman Shigeru Maruyama. There was uncertainty over whether the console should primarily focus on 2D sprite graphics or 3D polygon graphics. Eventually, after witnessing the success of Sga's Virtua Fighter in Japanese arcades, that Sony realized the direction of the PlayStation became instantly clear, and 3D polygon graphics became the console's primary focus. 24. The PlayStation logo was designed by Manabu Sakamoto. He wanted the logo to capture the 3D support of the console, but instead of just adding apparent depth to the letters P and S, he created an optical illusion that suggested the letters in depth of space. Sakamoto also stuck with 4 bright principal colors: red, yellow, green, and blue, only having to tune the green color for better harmony across the logo. Sakamoto also designed the black and white logo based on the same adhesive, reserved for times where colors could not be used. 25. Formation of Sony Computer Entertainment. At Sony Music Entertainment, Kutaragi worked closely with Shigeru Maruyama, the CEO of Sony Music, and with Akira Sato to form Sony Computer Entertainment Incorporated, SCEI, on the 16th of November, 1993. 26. A building block of SCEI was its initial partnership with Sony Music, which helped SCEI attract creative talent to the company as well as assist SCEI in manufacturing, marketing and producing discs, something that Sony Music had been doing with music discs. Final 2 key members of SCEI were Terry Takuneka, the president of SCEI from Sony's headquarters, and Olaf Olafsson. Olafsson was CEO and president of New York-based Sony Interactive Entertainment, 27, which was the parent company for the 1994 founded Sony Computer Entertainment of America, SCEA. The PlayStation project, SCEI's first official project, was finally given the green light by Sony executives in 1993 after a few years of development. Also in 1993, Phil Harrison, who later became president of SCE Worldwide Studios, was recruited into SCEI to attract developers and publishers to produce games for their new PlayStation platform. 23. Computer Gaming World in March 1994 reported a rumor that the Sony PSX would be released in Japan before the end of this year and will retail for less than $400. 28. After a demonstration of Sony's distribution plan as well as tech demos of its new console to game publishers and developers in a hotel in Tokyo in 1994, numerous developers began to approach PlayStation. 2 of whom later became major partners were Electronic Arts in the West and Namco in Japan. One of the factors which attracted developers to the platform was the use of a 3D-capable, CD-ROM-based console, which was much cheaper and easier to manufacture in comparison to Nintendo's rival console, which used cartridge systems. The project eventually hit Japanese stores in December 1994 and gained massive sales due to its lower price point than its competitor, the Sega Saturn. The popularity of the console spread after its release worldwide in North America and Europe. 23. Home consoles. PlayStation. The original PlayStation PS1. The redesigned PS1. The original PlayStation, released in Japan on the 3rd of December 1994, was the first of the ubiquitous PlayStation series of console and handheld game devices. It has included successor consoles and upgrades including the Net Yaros, a special black PlayStation with tools and instructions to program PlayStation games and applications, PS1, a smaller version of the original, and the Pocket Station, a handheld which enhances PlayStation games and also acts as a memory card. It was part of the fifth generation of video game consoles competing against the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64. By December 2003, the PlayStation and PS1 had shipped a combined total of 102.49 million units, 29, eventually becoming the first video game console to sell 120 million units. 2. PS1. Released on July 7, 2030, concurrently with its successor the PlayStation 2, the PS1, stylized as PS1, was a considerably smaller, redesigned version of the original PlayStation video game console. 31. The PS1 went on to outsell all other consoles, including its successor, throughout the remainder of the year. 31. It featured two main changes from its predecessor, the first being a cosmetic change to the console and the second being the home menu's graphical user interface, a variation of the GUI previously used only on PAL consoles up to that point. PlayStation 2. Original PlayStation 2, left, and slimline model with 8 MB memory card and DualShock 2 controller released in 2000, 15 months after the Dreamcast and a year before its other competitors, the Xbox and the GameCube. The PlayStation 2 is part of the sixth generation of video game consoles, and is backwards compatible with most original PlayStation games. Like its predecessor, it has received a slimmer redesign. It is the most successful console in the world, 32, having sold over 155 million units as of the 28th of December, 2012. 3. On the 29th of November, 2005, the PS2 became the fastest game console to reach 100 million units shipped, accomplishing the feat within 5 years and 9 months from its launch. This achievement occurred faster than its predecessor, the PlayStation, which took 9 years and 6 months since launch to reach the same figure. 2. PlayStation 2 shipments in Japan ended on the 28th of December, 2012. 33. The Guardian reported on the 4th of January, 2013 that PS2 production had ended worldwide, but studies showed that many people all around the world still own one even if it is no longer in use. PlayStation 2 has been ranked as the best-selling console of all time as of 2015. 34. Slimline model. Released in 2004, 4 years after the launch of the original PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2 Slimline was the first major redesign of the PlayStation 2. Compared to its predecessor, the Slimline was smaller, thinner, quieter and also included a built-in Ethernet port. In some markets it also has an integrated modem. In 2007 Sony began shipping a revision of the Slimline which was lighter than the original Slimline together with a lighter AC adapter. 35. In 2008, Sony released yet another revision of the Slim line, which had an overhauled internal design incorporating the power supply into the console itself like the original PlayStation 2, resulting in a further reduced total weight of the console. 36. PlayStation 3. Original, left, and Slim, right. PlayStation 3 consoles with their DualShock 3 controller